In this chapter, we will talk about ecosystem. This is the concept maps of ecosystem. And you can look here, explain the general information of ecosystem. Ecosystem is the part of ecology. According to the opinion of Tansley, ecosystem is the interaction between living things, biotic elements, abiotic elements, and the environment. Ecosystem components. Here there are two main components. First, abiotic. This is the non-living thing component, such as water, soil, air, humidity, temperature, sunlight, topography, and climate. And second is biotic. This is the living thing component, such as producent, consumer, detritivore, and decomposer. Let's talk further about abiotic or non-living component. There are soil, water, air, humidity and temperature, and the other components of abiotic or non-living component are sunlight, topography, and climate. Let's talk further about biotic or living organisms. The first is producent. Producent is all organisms that can make their own food, or called by autotroph. Autotroph divided by two. They are photoautotroph and chemoautotroph. Photoautotroph get help from light energy, and chemoautotroph get help from chemical reaction. And you can look these pictures, and this is the example of producent. The second component of biotic is consumer. Consumer is all organisms that cannot produce their own food, or called by heterotroph. The classification of consumers. First, herbivore, or primary consumer, get organic substance directly from the manufacturer. Second is carnivore, get organic substance from the herbivore. And the third is omnivore, get organic substance from the both producer and consumer. The third component of biotic is detritivore, that is organisms that help in the mechanical destruction of organic waste before undergoing a chemical decomposing process. You can look the example in the pictures. And the fourth component is decomposer. The function of decomposer is decompose organic waste chemically into inorganic substance. The example is bacteria and fungi. Interaction of ecosystem components. The first, interaction of abiotic components. Abiotic components can affect other abiotic components. The example is the effect of intensity of sunlight and the evaporation of water in the sea. The second, interaction between abiotic components and biotics. Abiotic components can affect biotic components in the ecosystem, and vice versa. The example is the tree and the soil. The third is the interaction between biotic components. Here divided by two. They are intraspecific interaction and interspecific interaction. Intraspecific interaction is the interaction between individuals in one species, and interspecific interactions is interactions between individuals of different species. The example of interspecific interactions is symbiosis. Symbiosis means the shared life between two living things or more different species in close relationship, divided by mutualism, commensalism, parasitism, and neutral. Mutualism symbiosis is benefit both parties. Commensalism symbiosis is it benefits one party, but the other party is not harmed. And parasitism symbiosis is benefit one party and harm another party. And the last is neutral, the life of organism in an area that doesn't interfere with each other. The other example of interspecific interactions is predation, interaction between predatory organisms and prey, and competition. interaction between two individuals in the form of competition. Energy flow. The first is sun. This is the main energy source of life, and then transfer to the plant, acting as the manufacturer, utilizing sunlight for the photosynthesis, and then transfer to the humans and animals, acting as customer, utilizing organic ingredients from producers. And the last is saffroba. This is the decomposer. Energy flow means the sequence of the transfer of energy forms from one energy to another. Start from sunlight, then to producer, to consumer primary, to high-level consumer, and saffroba. And you can look the charts below. The kind of energy flow. First, food chain. Food chain is the relationship between eating and eating between living things in their environment in a certain order. The example is fisheries chain and detritus food chain. If the food chain together with the other food chain will be food web, or the other meaning is a collection of several interconnected food chains. You can look the picture beside. Second is trophic level. This is composed of all organisms in the food chain that are numbered equal to the level of eating. And the first trophic is producent, and the second trophic is primary consumer, and the third trophic is first secondary consumer, and the fourth is the second secondary consumer, and the upper is upper consumer. Third is pyramid ecology, divided by three. The first is pyramid amount, the second is biomass pyramid, and the third is energy pyramid. And we talk about biogeochemical cycle. This is the cycle involves the elements of chemical compounds and undergoes displacement through a series of organisms. They are water cycle, nitrogen cycle, carbon cycle, phosphorus cycle, and sulfur cycle. Water cycle. Water is very important for all organisms in the world. The key process of water cycle are evaporating of water by solar energy, and then condensation of water vapor in the clouds and rain, and then perspiration by land plants. And the last is when the water reaches the ocean, thus completing the water cycle. Nitrogen cycle. Nitrogen is part of amino acids, protein, and nucleic acids. The key processes: 1. Fixation. Nitrogen in the air is converted to ammonia by cyanobacteria. Then assimilation. Plants get nitrogen from the soil through absorption of roots. Then ammonification. If a plant or animal dies, organic nitrogen is converted to ammonium. Nitrification. Nitrifying bacteria such as the Nitrosomonas species oxidize ammonium and convert ammonia to nitrate. And the last, denitrification, the process of reducing nitrates to return to nitrogen gas to complete the nitrogen cycle. Carbon cycle. Carbon forms a variety of organic molecules that are essential for all organisms. The key processes: 1. Carbon dioxide, which is abundant in the atmosphere, is the result of human, animal respiration, volcanic eruptions, and combustion products. 2. Photosynthesis in plants uses carbon dioxide as its raw material to form organic molecules. And 3. Organic molecules, such as cellulose and other carbohydrates. Phosphorus cycle. Organisms require phosphorus as the main constituent of nucleic acids, phospholipids, and ATP, as well as other energy-strong molecules, and as mineral making up bones and teeth. In nature, there are two phosphates, namely organic phosphorus compound and inorganic phosphate compounds. Then phosphates settle in the ground. Then plants use the shape into organic compounds for consumer, Through excretion and decomposer activity, the phosphate returns to the ground. First cycle, sulfur is abundant in the earth's crust. Sulfur can be absorbed by plant in the form of sulfate. Sulfur is needed in the synthesis of protein compounds. The key process of sulfur cycle: 1. Sulfate in the soil is absorbed by plants. Then, through the food chain, sulfur moves to the consumer. Then, by sulfur bacteria, sulfur gas and sulfides in the air are oxidized to produce sulfur. Then the sulfur is oxidized again to form sulfates in the soil. Next, we'll tell about succession. Succession is a process of community change that takes place slowly and regularly in long time, going in one direction until more complex communities are formed. Succession will end in a climax ecosystem that has reached balance. Primary success, the formation of community of living things that didn't exist before. And secondary success, change that occur due to disturbance of habitat.
For your exercise, please watching this video.
Many people die from COVID-19 every day in Indonesia. President Widodo has been criticized for his slow response in dealing with this outbreak, especially for not doing enough rapid tests. In West Java, for example, only 15,000 tests were done out of 48 million people. Nearly 700 of those came out positive. According to the health ministry, Indonesia has 2,800 hospitals and around 320,000 hospital beds. They are being overwhelmed by patients. They're having troubles providing beds, ventilators, protective gear, medical equipment, and in some hospitals, even a lack of doctors. But when I speak with government officials, many of them remain optimistic in the sense that they believe Indonesia has the experience in dealing with outbreaks such as bird flu and HIV. At the same time, Ramadan is just a few weeks away, and it seems that this year many people are looking to go back to their hometown early. If we look at social distancing, technically this tradition shouldn't be allowed because it could risk massive contagion. The World Health Organization reminded Indonesia's government that the country is still in its early stages in this pandemic, and in a way, President Widodo still has a lot of opportunities to implement proper regulations to slow the outbreak. Experts say if the country does not take strict measures now, then Indonesia is likely to be like Italy and the United States. And we know that if it does get to that, Indonesia's healthcare system will not be able to cope.
If you look at the current condition of Indonesia, when the outbreak of the COVID-19 virus, how much influence on the balance of the ecosystem? We know that the government has implemented various programs to prevent the spread of this virus, one of which is work from home. Do you think that the programs that have been created and implemented are effective in eliminating this case? Is there a more effective program? If we look at the graph of the addition of COVID-19 case, predict when this case will end.